Hello and welcome back to the Thought Leader Recruiter podcast. I'm Sam Bylett, and today I'm joined by Emily Flaesgarten, Search Team Lead and Search Director at Y Scout. Emily, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here and chatting with you today.
It's wonderful to have you here. So, what pulled you first into recruiting? Was there a moment where it just clicked for you and you thought, yeah, this is where I'm meant to be? Or did you just fall into it like most people?
I talk to so many people all the time and they're like, I just somehow ended up here. It's like I closed my eyes and I woke up and I was a recruiter, right? But I ended up actually getting laid off from banking. And I was like, I need to find something. So I started applying to all sorts of different jobs and companies. And a woman named Dominique Litnat interviewed me for a company called Search Path Ramirez Consulting. So it's a franchise of Search Path International. She was right downtown Cleveland, and we clicked, and she took a chance on me, and it's honestly one of the things I'm most grateful for because I found recruiting. I mean, I went to school for PR and communications, and I never really thought I was going to apply my degree in the way that I do today, but it's been amazing. I love what I do. I love getting to talk to people and connect with people every day, and I think the moment that it really clicked for me where I was like, this is my career was the first time I made a placement. And I was just placing people like case managers and maintenance techs and janitors and property managers for nonprofit housing companies. And I got to ring the bell in the search path office. And I was just like, this is cool. I changed somebody's life. I got them better income. I got them a housing situation. And I could do this. I could do this.
Mm.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, it must be such a great feeling.
It is. No, it really is. You are really changing people's lives. And I don't know, it feels great.
Yeah, for sure. You've worked on both the agency and internal talent side. How did being on both sides of the table shape the way you run searches today?
Yeah, so when I think about the internal talent side that I've done, it wasn't like what I do today, right? I was working for a branch manager of a mortgage lending bank and I was hiring him MLOs, which is a totally different beast. You're hiring straight commission and I mean, back then, not the most desirable job, right? But what I'd say is that gave me the grit, like just calling and calling and calling and calling people like 100 dials a day, right? But then getting into the agency side, and again, I started at the pretty low level and then elevated myself to executive search. And that was, really, again, the dials, getting on the phone. There was one point at SearchPath where I made like 200 dials a day, and they were just kind of like, that's, we haven't seen anybody do that before. That's crazy. And they were like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just literally calling and trying to get somebody on the phone to talk to them about the role. But what I think really colored the way that I recruit today was the fact that I started out in like nonprofit and really mission based recruitment. Hiring these case managers, hiring people who were in supportive housing communities or communities for low income families, and they really needed the support. And so it was very mission, culture, values driven. And then getting to Y Scouts, I've been able to do that on the for profit side, which is a lot easier, right? Because you have a little bit more salary to pay people. I didn't realize that it could apply to that. So really taking those authentic and genuine conversations that I would have with the nonprofit leaders and being able to apply that to the for-profit space and build those connections, I think that's really been what's colored my approach.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. And Y Scouts is known for its purpose driven approach to hiring. What does that really look like in practice, and how is it different from most executive search firms?
So the first thing I would say is that anybody who doesn't know the Y Scouts or about our approach, you need to read Hiring on Purpose by Max Hansen, my CEO. But it's really about aligning beyond the technical skill sets of a candidate, right? A lot of things can be translatable, but those softer skills, the leadership styles, the culture and values that they bring into an environment and getting into those details, building those authentic relationships, diving into the conversation, kind of saying like, okay, I know you can manage a team of 10, 12, 15. I know you understand Excel, but what is your secret sauce and what does that look like in practice? And then doing the same from the client standpoint. I mean, it's hard. We're consultants, right? So we're not in there Monday through Friday, but really integrating ourselves into those client companies, getting a pulse check from their employees and understanding what it's like to be inside those organizations in practice from the day to day, from the true culture and values that, radiate throughout that organization, and then being able to make that pairing. It's just a holistic approach, not just a warm body in a seat. The cost of a mishire, we all know, is
Yeah.
way more than the salary, right? But
Okay.
it's about aligning on those pieces that are non-negotiables. And I think a lot of the success that we have there is through the authentic conversations we're able to have on both sides.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And you mentioned when we last spoke that most of your clients sit in the 20 to 200 million revenue range with the occasional 9 billion giant. What kind of problems tend to bring those CEOs to your door?
So I'd say it's kind of one of two things. Either they've tried to recruit for this role in-house, but I think we all know that the bandwidth of an HR leader is only so much. I mean, they're doing more than recruiting every day, and so they can't dedicate 100% of their time to the recruitment of people onto their team like we do. And I think the other piece of that is they've maybe worked with other recruiters, and it was a very transactional experience. Just, again, getting a warm body in a seat and then being like, "Bye." And so then they come to us because they've either been referred or maybe they've listened to Max's podcast or read his book, and they get a taste of how it could be different. And then they meet with us, and then we walk them through our demo process. We walk them through what it actually means to hire on purpose, and then they're hooked because it is very different. It is very relationship based versus, okay, do you check these boxes? Okay, you do. All right, you're in. Here's your offer letter. And then, 1, 3, 6, 12 months later, they're trying to refill that role.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. And we've all seen that stat: 50% of internal hires executive leaves within 18 months. For a founder prepping for rapid growth, what should they get right before bringing in a search partner?
I think you need to get clear on your vision first. Clear on your vision. Another thing too, if you do not have your values set them because that's that's your launch pad. Everything should be based on the values that you hold as the non-negotiables within your organization. But when I talk about getting clear on vision, that's getting all of the stakeholders in a room or in a virtual room together and saying, okay, what are the most important things that this person achieves in the first 1, 3, 6, 12 months? And not only looking at that as like the quantifiables, the KPIs, the metrics, but the cultural aspects and making sure that you're 100% aligned on all of those pieces. Because if you're not and you decide to just hire a recruiter, it's going to be the same thing. You're going to hit the same wall. But the clearer you are, the better the entire hiring journey is going to be. It's about getting that alignment from all stakeholders because the amount of times that people, you kind of come out on the end of it and people aren't aligned, that's when you see a lot of those mishires happen, right? You see them hiring for the things that are less important than the most important pieces.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And we all know how, super competitive the market is right now. When you present a candidate, how do you help them stand out, especially in those VP or C-level searches?
Well, so I know our candidate presentations are very unique. They're extremely robust and really paint that vivid picture of who the candidate is beyond those technical pieces. It highlights their successes, it highlights reasons for transition. We really try to present a thorough presentation. But the fact is, it's the candidate themselves. It's not me. I am just the advocate. I am the, right? But I don't make the candidate stand out. I am just the one presenting the details, collecting the data points, and then giving them to the clients in the most digestible manner. It's really the candidates, and we only work with A players. So, I can't say that I make them stand out. I just present them. I am the advocate, and they are the ones who stand out.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. I talk to a lot of CEOs, and a lot of them do say they just can't kind of find great candidates. Do you think there is a real talent shortage, or are they just looking in the wrong places?
So I don't think there's a talent shortage necessarily. I think it's more, again, going back to that getting clear on what's most important. I think a lot of times you get into a conversation and the initial discussion is they want the world out of a person, but we are all just people. Nobody's perfect. You're not going to always get 100%, but we need to align on what are those most important facets of this person's personality, background, and experience. And then be able to align on those pieces and say, okay, of these, I don't know, 10 things, what are the most important 5? And of those 5, what are the 3 things that you can't live without? Because if everything's important, then nothing is important. So I don't necessarily know if it's fishing in the wrong ponds, but just getting clear on what is most crucial to equate to success for this person, for your organization, and then going down those rabbit holes. Because I mean, if you're looking for this laundry list of things, the likelihood of you finding all of those in one person is pretty slim, right? So just get clear, get clear. That's the best advice I have.
And I saw a stat saying 64% of SMBs say employer branding is their number one kind of blind spot when recruiting execs. From your perspective, what does a strong employer brand really look like?
I think a strong employee brand looks like, what do your people say about you? What do they say about you to their colleagues internally? What do they say to you, say about you to their friends? Right? When they're sitting at the dinner table and somebody says, "Hey, Sam, what do you do?" And you say, "I am a recruiter for this amazing firm, and these are all the great things that we do." That's going to then bring you referrals. Like when you have roles open, people are going to flock to you because your people are singing your praises. So I think it's most about the right employee engagement and the right internal culture. Once you set that, you can forget it. I mean, people are gonna flock to you because they want to work for companies where people are happy and healthy and thriving. I mean, I don't really think that we're at a lack for recruiting people to Y Scouts because I am constantly excited to talk about our organization. And I have a lot of clients who are the same way. And I think maybe sometimes the biggest hurdle for them to hire is like, we get so many applications, we can't get through all of them. We need you to do a purpose based search so that we can find the right person because everybody wants to work here. And those searches are the easiest ones, right?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, let's flip the script to kind of candidates now. If a leader keeps striking out, no interviews, no offers, what's usually the first lever you pull? Is it their resume, their story, networking, or something else?
So the first thing I always pull is resume, right? Because I think there's a lot of executives out there who maybe haven't had to build a resume. They've moved from one role to the next because they have a great referral network. And then they get to this point where they're like, oh, shoot, I need to actually put together a resume and start applying for jobs. And I think a lot of times they don't always know what's most important in that resume. And my suggestion is always, is it too long? Is it too short? Are we putting both the quantifiables and the qualifiables in there? And so my go-to is like, hey, get me your resume. I'm going to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. We're going to hop onto a Zoom and we're going to discuss what's fluff, what's important, and how to make this most attractive. Because as you know, and I mean, not a whole lot of executives, right, are applying on LinkedIn. But for those director or those managerial levels, they are. And so those resumes are just going into a database that's filtering for certain words. And if you're not putting in the right data points about your experience, then you're going to go into the black hole, right? So it's really about making sure that the examples that you share, the experiences that you highlight don't just look like you copy and pasted your job description in there. And it's funny because I know so many C-suite leaders who are like, I haven't done a resume in 25 years,
Yeah.
or they're utilizing their LinkedIn profile as their resume. And my advice is, let's work together on this. Let me help collaborate because I'm looking at these all day, every day, and I can really give you honest feedback and help you get to where you need to be. And then usually that resolves it. I mean, from most of the interactions I've had, but beyond that, then we look at the networking. Then we honestly look at your social profiles. Are you active enough on LinkedIn? Are you liking, commenting, posting, and really getting your brand out?
Yeah. And that's so important now, right? LinkedIn is probably as important as the CV in that aspect.
Absolutely. No, I mean, LinkedIn is that's where we all go to look for, individuals' profiles. It's one of the first things on our list, right? So if you appear to be in completely inactive, the likelihood of anybody reaching out to you is about zero.
Yeah, and it's also great for reaching out to people, isn't it? Like getting your foot in the door, you know, then send
Absolutely.
someone a voice note, or just letting them know you're there is really important.
But yeah, I'm networking every day with people who maybe I don't have a job for them today, but hopefully I'll have one for them tomorrow, next week, in the next 3 months. And just the fact that they're reaching out to me and like, "Hey, I'm on the market." It's always something I recommend. Just keep in front of me, and I will follow up with you eventually with something.
Yeah, that's great. And there's still a big divide over the remote versus in office leadership. What are you hearing from the execs on the front?
So, I'd say the majority of the execs I talk to, they're looking for something that's at least hybrid. A lot of them are still looking for fully remote, and I think we're gonna continue to see that because the fact is COVID changed everything. I think we've proven that you're not losing traction by working remote or working from home. I think in a lot of cases you're actually getting better because people now kind of take that breath. They're like, okay, I don't have to drive into the office today. And you're able to operate in this comfortable environment and you're also able to avoid certain distractions. Now, not all distractions, right? But I think, at least in my opinion, you're going to continue to see that trend because if you're not, it's a non negotiable for a lot of these execs I talk to. They're like, I don't want to come into an office 5 days a week. Like, I'm looking for something at least, maybe 4 days in office, 1 day from home, or 3 days in office, 2 days from home. I'm talking to a lot who are looking for fully remote.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think there's argument on both sides there, isn't there? But I think companies just need to be a little bit more flexible now.
Well, and I think it's also very intentional culture building, right? I mean, we at Y Scouts, we're a fully remote team, but we do not lack for culture. Like, I would honestly consider every single one of my colleagues is a close friend. I mean, we know probably too much about each other at this point. But it's about that intentionality behind that culture build when you're going remote or hybrid.
Yeah, for sure. And what's your take on AI in recruitment, and how is Y Scouts using tech while still keeping the human side of hiring intact?
I mean, AI is going to completely change the game. It already is, right? My CEO Max has been on the forefront of implementing AI into our process. It's probably been over a year now since we've been utilizing it. Obviously starting with the Claudes and the Chat GPTs of the world, the free services, and testing it out and saying, how does this work and integrate with us? How does it make us work smarter versus harder? And now we're building out our own proprietary AI tool that's really just going to improve the client journey, the candidate journey, and honestly the recruiter journey across the search process. And it's been amazing. I mean, I use an AI tool literally every day, whether it's the proprietary one that we're building out or just hopping on Claude or Chat GPT to run something through. But I think really what it's doing for me is it's eliminating a lot of those repetitive administrative tasks and giving me that opportunity to be on the phone, and get into the conversations versus taking, an hour, hour and a half to put together a candidate presentation. It's taking me 30 minutes or less to assemble with the help of AI.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, big fan of it myself. Is the best. And what's next for Y Scouts? Any exciting plans in the pipeline?
Well, I mean, the proprietary AI tool, super exciting. I mean, I think one of the most exciting things is Max's podcast. It's built on purpose and it's a real opportunity to talk to some of these industry leaders and learn what they're doing in terms of hiring, what trends that they see. I mean, he's an amazing pulse on recruitment across the country, across the globe, truly. I mean, we don't just do recruitment here in the US. So I think that's one of the real exciting things that we have. And then also me being on this podcast. That's highly exciting.
Do that. Good answer. And for our audience, how can people get in touch with yourself and find out a bit more about Y Scouts?
I mean, hop onto our website. You'll see the entire team. I would always recommend joining our leadership community because that's not only going to put you at the forefront if you're looking for your next role of our searches, but we also roll out a ton of different, really relevant information to the recruiting world. And that's, whether you're actively looking or you're looking to make a hire, obviously reach out to me on LinkedIn, please. I always welcome an outreach. I'm always looking to connect with more amazing leaders and people. But I mean, our website, LinkedIn, just pick up the phone and give me a call. I think our numbers are all listed on the website. So don't hesitate to drop me a line. I always love to connect.
Brilliant. Well, thanks, Emily. It's been a great conversation. Really appreciate you coming on the show today.
But thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure.
Catch you next time. Thank you.
Bye bye.